Now, recently I did a video of the top 10 most hyped niche fragrances ever. And of course, there's a lot of fragrances that couldn't make their way into that list. It was only a top 10. Well, today we have part 2. I'm going to be going over 10 more of the most hyped niche fragrances of all time. I'll tell you when they were hyped, why I think they were hyped. So make sure to stay tuned. Before I begin today's episode and I give you my thoughts on these top 10 most hyped niche fragrances ever, these are fragrances that couldn't make their way into the first rendition of this episode series, but they will make their way into today's episode. I want to start the video off first by saying that if you like fragrance related content, top 10 videos, reviews, giveaways, unboxings, special guests, interviews, and more, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and give this video a thumbs up for the algorithm. It would really mean a lot to me. So, of course, I got criticized a little bit in the previous video just because people were like, hey, you didn't mention this one, you didn't mention that one. And I did have a bit of an addendum or a preface in the video saying that it's only 10. I am going to make a part 2 and potentially a part 3 or a part 4. So, of course, I want to make this video for those who feel like their selection was left out. And certainly there's a lot of fragrances throughout the years that I've received tons of hype. Let's go to this year, as a matter of fact, 2023 by Kayali Yum Pistachio Gelato 33. This got so much hype. When it came out, everybody was talking about it, right? So this has the pistachio gelato accord, hazelnut, sweet rum, whipped cream, marshmallow, and cotton candy. It's sweet, it's smooth, it's dulcet, it's decadent, it's delicious, it is amazing. And I mentioned this on my channel before, I tried purchasing this from Sephora on a number of occasions, in person and online, and it was always sold out. Of course, now it's in stock because the hype has kind of settled, but of course, this one got a lot of hype. Of course, going back to over a decade ago, we had L'air du Désert Marocain by Tower Perfumes. At least I think it was over a decade ago. I remember when I first got into watching YouTube videos about 12 years ago, people were talking about this like crazy. Andy Towers' second composition. Of course, there's also Lone Star Memories, and there's a more recent flanker, if you will, of this, but this is a dry, spicy amber. Absolutely brilliant. Totally love it. I lost my cap though. I wonder where it went. Here's another one that got a lot of hype, and this perfumer has made a number of fragrances for this brand, and this one is by Edition de Parfum Frédéric Malle, and it's called Musc Ravageur. Now this is a sweet composition by Maurice Roussel. I actually have 2 bottles of this, and you can tell the liquid that I have in here is like a syrup. It's so viscous because I wore through the whole thing. And this one has the old style cap, so I think this was pre-reform, at least I think. It's been reformulated, I'm not entirely sure. Maurice Roussel is the perfumer. This has clove, it has vanilla, it's sweet, it's herbal. It is such an amazing fragrance. I love Musc Ravageur, and the place where I got the most hyped was here on YouTube. Of course, there are certain fragrances like the Kayali that get hyped on Facebook and online fragrance forums, but for this one specifically, it was a lot of YouTube, and also with L'air du Désert Marocain, it was a lot of YouTube. Now this next one, when it started getting the hype, people started colloquially referring to it as the Blue Beast. You know what it is. Interlude for Men by Amouage. And then they released a fragrance called King Blue. But this is the original Blue Beast. This is birch, it's resins, it's labdanum, it's smoky. It has that sort of cilantro note in the opening. This is one of the heaviest fragrances that you can purchase. It's totally beast mode. And I think that's the reason why people fell in love with it. From the house of Amouage, of course, we are used to a lot of darker and more experimental fragrances, but this one really takes the cake in terms of the lasting power. Look, I said I was going to mention this one. Of course, I did talk about a Xerjoff in the previous video, so if you want to know what that is, just go ahead and search up the video. I'll do my best to leave a link down below. But of course, there's also Erba Pura. Erba Pura has this sort of melon, grassy, green, verdant, fruity type of a vibe. And since the release of this fragrance, we've seen Kirche by Tiziana Terenzi. There's been so many brands that have tried to put out their own version of Erba Pura, but this is the original, right? So it's an amazing fragrance, and I knew eventually I was going to get myself a bottle of it. By BDK Parfum, here is a Parisian brand. The fragrance is called Gris Chanel, and this fragrance is a spicy, warm, sweet cardamom type of a fragrance. So it's spicy, it's warm, it's elegant, it's sensual, and of course there's also Rouge Smoking. That one is more like a cherry almond fragrance, and the one that I talk about on my channel a lot is actually Celle d'Argent and their Citrus Riviera. Both of those are amazing for the summertime, but Gris Chanel is incredible. Now, in my previous video, I also mentioned Creed Aventus. How could you not mention Creed Aventus? And I also mentioned Supernova by Aaron Terence Hughes, which is also in that Creed Aventus family. Well, in this video, I'm going to mention Hachivat by Nishane. This is a fragrance that has the Creed Aventus DNA without the vanilla and a lot more birch. So this stuff is smoky, it's mysterious, it's on the dark side of things, it's enigmatic, it's really classy, very refined, but like I said, it has that mysterious touch to it that I personally love. It's not as sensual and not as romantic as a Creed Aventus. Now for the next one, you'll have to excuse the fact that I just have a lab bottle or a sample bottle from the brand. It is an official sample. This is Baccarat Rouge 540 by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. Now, I've worked with Francis Kurkdjian as a perfumer. He and I have worked on a fragrance for Navitus Parfum called Imperial. This fragrance, though, I attended the master class in Paramus, New Jersey when this fragrance came out, and you guys know what this is all about. That ethyl maltyl, cotton candy, ambroxan, oak moss type of a vibe. Not only is it one of the most hyped fragrances right next to Santal 33 and Creed Aventus, it's also one of the most cloned and twisted fragrances. You see stuff like Cloud by Ariana Grande. There's so many fragrances out there that have that Baccarat Rouge DNA, and this is the originator. This is the fragrance that kind of started it all. Of course, here is one that I got criticized a bit for not including in my previous video. I assured you it was only a matter of time before I mentioned it. And this is the original Elysium by Roja Parfum. Of course, there's also the Parfum Cologne version, which is in the blue bottle. Some people have also compared this to Creed Aventus, but not really. It's woodsy, it's green, it's a little grassy, it has a ton of citrus in there, some clean floral ingredients, again, very fresh, office friendly, huge compliment getter. Main source of hype, once again, was YouTube, as opposed to something like a Baccarat Rouge. You saw the hype about it everywhere, right? They were selling it everywhere, in boutiques, department stores, duty-free, so on and so forth. Baccarat Rouge is an amazingly popular fragrance. And of course, we were talking about the brand of Parfums de Marly. And I said, I remember first starting my YouTube journey, and the fragrance that was the most hyped at the time, right next to Pegasus, was actually Herod. And I remember getting a bottle of Herod. That honey tobacco with a touch of vanilla was absolutely divine. But since this fragrance came out, yes, this has become the bestseller from the brand, and this has become one of the most hyped. It's not the most recent release, which is Altair. This one is actually several years old, and perhaps it doesn't have the hype now that it used to, but it still has that cult following, and the fragrance, you know what it is. It's Layton by Parfums de Marly. So I know a lot of people were dropping a comment down below and saying the most hyped Marly on the men's side of things is Layton. It is. The lavender, the apple, the vanilla, a touch of spice. It's an amazing fragrance. Dressed up, sensual, date night, flirtatious. You can't go wrong with Layton, especially now that we're kind of entering the fall season. I think this one is great for the colder weather. Layton Exclusive is better for the winter time as opposed to the fall, but nonetheless, top 10 most hyped niche fragrances of all time. How can you go wrong? Elysium, Layton, L'air du Desert Marocain, Baccarat Rouge. Do you have any other fragrances that you would consider to be some of the most hyped fragrances out there? If you do, why don't you go ahead and let me know what they are? Drop your comment down below. Do you think this list is missing anything? Please drop your comments down below, and I will even consider utilizing them in a future video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the interaction. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, give this video a thumbs up. Thanks again for watching. Love you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow with a new episode. Bye.